You have his teammate Blake Davis and PJ Jacobson, Cameron Peterson, Ty Scott, and Josh Hayes.
Then we're going to go back to row number 3. We see Corey Alexander, Kayla Jakob, Jake Lewis. Good to see Jake back. Joe Lamondre Jr., guys, should be in our series full-time. They're on row 4 next to Max Van and Torrin Collins. I saw them wheeling Aiden Sneed's bike off the grid just now. That's a shame. De Silva, Enriquez, Chase Black, Nassani, and Owen Williams will be on row number 6. Then we have Shane Maggs, DeLeon, Greg Monk, Chopkoff, and Kevin Horney. They're on row 8. A little further back to the last row, we got Zaragoza, Omen, and Jeff Bean. So, all in all, Greg, we've got a pretty big field here, 27 riders. Unfortunately, like I said, Aiden didn't look like he's going to take part. I'm sure the crew's working on that thing frantically.
All right, if they get it started,
he's got to
start from pit lane. Yeah, so he's got a lot of work to do. The MP13 racer on the 98, that's the MV Augusta. Sweet motorcycle to look at. You got to check it out while you're here.
Coming off 2 great finishes at Laguna Seca is Aiden, 7th place in both. So this is a shame, but you know, as a young rider, Greg, he's very young, and he's just got to now go get these laps in, do the best he can. You know, you never know. There could be a red flag. There could be something that allows you to get back up there in this fight.
Motivation Supersport race number 1 on deck. 18 laps scheduled. A look at our front row as we wait for the lights to turn off as we get rolling. Here we go. A good launch from the front row. Oh, it looked like Ty Scott on the Vision Wheel M4X Star Suzuki got a tremendous launch from row number 2, the number 70. He works his way into about 4th position. He gets swallowed up around the outside. Goes Peterson. Inside goes Josh Hayes. And we're away racing through turn 1.
It was really Blake Davis that got the jump, but his teammate on the number 1, Matthew Schultz, just let go of that lever. Look at PJ. He wants to go with Matthew Schultz right away. He tried to get by Blake and wasn't able to make it. That allows Cam Peterson through, and look who's 3rd.
Wow, so Josh Hayes, the number 4, right up there in 3rd spot. All the while, 4th and 5th are duking it out corner to corner. But Matthew Schultz, now the South African, has his countryman, the number 45 of Cameron Peterson, right behind him. One of the hottest riders in the field right now is Peterson as he continues to get used to his Ducati Panigale V2.
Let's not forget, Cam Peterson had some real pace at Laguna Seca. He was able to start running some of the leaders down early in these races. But the guy that needed to take the lead and get out front early is Matthew. He's had some real pace this weekend. He's going to try to drag his countryman along, and you can see PJ Jacobson now is on the back of Josh Hayes. He will probably try to draft that R9 down this front straightaway. He sees these 2 bikes in front of him disappearing. For the 15, he's got to get through.
So Strack Racing Yamaha R9 rider Matthew Schultz onto the front straightaway. This is the battle for 3rd. As you're talking about, PJ Jacobson on the number yellow machine. That's the Ray Hall Ducati with Ducati Moto X Spell machine. He gets around Hayes, and down into turn 1 they go. And at the same time, Strack Racing's Blake Davis gets around Hayes on the BPR Racing Yamaha.
Yeah, he wanted to try to get through as well. As you see PJ getting bucked up out of the seat really violently there on the exit of turn 2. Not something you're normally going to be used to seeing on the opening laps with brand new tires. But PJ knows in order for him to break away from the guys in the back and catch the guys in the front, he's going to have to get away soon. So this is a very aggressive move and a good move from PJ Jacobson. He just can't get the bike turned. And Blake Davis, you can see he felt the number 15 up underneath him, gave him a little bit of room. But for PJ just trying to get to the front, and nothing malicious there, just trying to make a pass early to go with Matthew. Now PJ, look, he's already closed up the gap. Fastest first split for PJ here, almost 3/10 of a second quicker, 4/10 of a second quicker than the man up in the front.
On the move is PJ Jacobson, and maybe if PJ's able to find a way to get around Cameron Peterson, then he will drag Peterson up with him, and all of a sudden this 1-horse race turns into a 3-horse battle. So onto the front straightaway we go. Schultz goes 29.061 first time by, and now as they come across start-finish line, it is going to be a 26.62 for the number 1.
How about that?
PJ Jacobson, 26.0.
Wow, that is fast, Greg. 26 flat, second lap of the race. That was with even getting a little bit loose out of this corner right here. So for PJ Jacobson, he's trying to close this gap down, and what you'll generally see is a lot of aggression out of guys the first 3 or 4 laps. Look at this battle back here for 6. We're looking at Ty Scott and Kayla Jakob. That's Joe Lamondre Jr. there. What a job from him. As you see, Joe, it's our first time really seeing him this year. Corey Alexander's in behind him. and then just behind him is Jake Lewis. So this is a big battle right now for 6th place. Jamie.
You mentioned Tyler Scott being right there in the thick of it, leading this battle. And I talked to him just before he put his helmet on. He said really his goal for the race was to try and stay on the back end, as we've had a rider go down now, and trying to stay on the back end of that front group, because he felt like he has the pace, but he's physically struggling, and he just didn't want to let him get away too early. So having that gaggle there with him, that may or may not help him, but you can see that gap starting to widen.
Yeah, and when you look right now, the guys behind Matthew, Cameron Peterson that time was 2/10 quicker in the first split, loses a 10th in the second. Cam's trying to run a really good lap. This will be his best lap, Greg. And for PJ now will notice that they're not getting away from him quite as quickly, and he's done a good job closing this gap down.
All right, so they come across the line now, and the last time by, PJ went 26.094. This time, 26.5. Just want to make a quick note, Jason, that since 2018 here at VIR, JD Beach has had the fastest lap record at a 126.206. So that 126.0, the fastest ever around Virginia International Raceway on a super sport machine by PJ Jacobsen. Incredibly fast. However, he's got to turn that lap time into positions. He's got to put himself ahead of his two rivals up front of Schultz and Peterson if he's going to continue to grow his lead in this championship, because live results would have it right now that he would lose the lead at the mid part of the season here in Motivation Supersport.
PJ's a lot of fun to watch ride a motorcycle, Greg. He's got so much great bike handling skills. The bike will be moving around him all the time, doesn't even phase him. There was a couple shots our camera guys got yesterday that were really impressive, especially coming out of this turn. This is a place where as the race goes on, tires on the right side get a little bit warm, bikes get really loose, but the throttle control and the way that PJ's able to hang that Ducati out at times is really fun to watch, as he's now back on the back of Cam Peterson. 26.7, 26.4 that time between Schultz and Cam Peterson, and again 26.5 from PJ. So the pace at the front will start to settle, it looks like, Greg, in and around that mid to high 26s. Let's see what Matthew does this time through. He had 0.7 of a second last lap, 0.8 this time, and we're in those mid 26s.
So Cameron Peterson still holding off his Ducati teammate. So the Celtic Economy Lube Plus Tire, Warhorse HSBK Ducati. Now Blake Davis, 26.8 for the number 22, his fastest personal lap of the race, but still not faster than the three riders in front of him. So for Blake Davis, he's still trying to find some speed in the early laps of Motivation Supersport race number 1. So Schultz with just under a second gap to Peterson and PJ Jacobsen. Jacobsen seems okay. We have seen this, Jay, before in Motivation Supersport, where you have those first 4 or 5 laps be completely hectic, fast times. Then once everybody kind of settles into their pace, it's going to be like this until we get to the last 5 laps. Save your tire a little bit, maybe, save some energy, and then make a huge push.
Yeah, and right now, my biggest curiosity point is the 22 of Blake Davis. He's fallen quite a bit ways behind, 2.7 seconds. He ran his personal best on the last lap, 26.8, so he is also in the 26s. So for right now, this guy here, Blake Davis, he's going to keep chomping away. He's 14 laps to go. Jamie.
Cameron Peterson sitting in second place. That's not surprising. We're used to seeing him up there going for podium positions, but this one comes on after having a great start to the race. His last couple of them, he had to fight his way through the pack. Even just at the last race, he went from 14th after a bad start all the way up to the podium results. So for him, he's going to now have the tire at the end of the race to actually fight with, which is what he felt like he had been lacking to be able to go ultimately for race wins. So we'll see what happens in the second half of this race, because he has a lot of confidence and a lot of speed.
And unfortunately, he had a lot of racetrack in that last corner, and PJ almost got up the inside of him, but it looked like Cameron Peterson had made some groundwork and taken a little bit of time out of Schultz when he went into turn number 1. Schultz was less than a 1/10 of a second faster on the actual full lap last time by, with 12 and a half laps to go in Motivation Supersport. But Schultz in control, 26.4 his best time, last time 26.5. So each of these riders, Jay, are within 0.2 of a second of their best time.
Well, they got it under a second that last time by, but this time it looks like he started to pull it out. He's pulled 0.3 out in that first split on the 2 chasing riders behind him. These Ducatis are doing everything they can to run the pace of that R9 with Matthew Schultz aboard it. But the thing is right now, 26.5, another 3/10. So he's opened up 0.6 of a second on this lap. PJ's going to have to try to do something here with Cam Peterson soon. I feel like that's coming, as you see, Greg. A red split there in sector 2. That's what's equated to 0.6 of a second. Matthew's going to go 26.2. So 26.2 for Matthew Skulls, 26.8 for the other. So it's 0.6. Number one pulls out. PJ still cannot do anything with Cam Peterson. And the other guy now, Greg, 26.7, that is matching these two battling for seconds pace is Blake Davis.
And there goes PJ Jacobson on the 15, starting to, try to find traction. You see the rear end of the motorcycle start to twitch, something we normally see at this stage of the race. We saw it earlier in the first laps, but now PJ trying to keep in mind that these Motivation Supersport, these Ducati machines, they don't have traction control like you would see in even Stock 1000 or Superbike. All the traction control is basically their right wrists. And so PJ is so good on board that motorcycle. He's always looking for that maximum amount of grip, and sometimes that creates some wheel spin, as all these riders do.
Yeah.
So Skulls, 0.6 on that lap. Now you can see it's up to 1.6 seconds, the gap between him and Cameron Peterson.
And he's pulled out even more this lap, just 1/10. I know it doesn't seem like a lot, but when you start seeing that guy disappearing in front of you, especially if you're PJ Jacobson right now, he's really got to be thinking, if I want to try to get this win, if I have any pace underneath me whatsoever, I've got to get past the 45, who's riding really well right now, is Cam Peterson. Talked to him this morning, said he feels pretty well, happy enough with things. But, I promise, both these guys are race winners. They want to try to get up in the front and race to win. As they come across the line, PJ looked like he was pulling out to the right side of Cam P. Let's see if he can make it stick. He cannot. So Cam Peterson defends that second position again.
And they lost another half a second to Matthew Skulls, who's now pulled out a 2-second gap. So PJ, at this point, has just got to go to work on the rider in front of him. Now keep in mind, Jay, is that with PJ Jacobson having that lead coming in here, first to second is 5 points difference, but first to third, a 9-point difference. And so that would be a bit of a shift in this championship for Matthew Skulls. Your number one plate, your defending champion.
PJ has a good run here as well. It's just such a big commitment to make a pass here into turn 7, because it's so easy to make a mistake as you look at the live championship standings as the race was to end now. It's 6 points, like you say, Greg, over Matthew Skulls over PJ Jacobson with Blake and Camp P. This is a big battle behind here with Kayla Yakov leading the way, with Joe Lamondre has got by Ty Scott as well. So what a battle we have here. Kayla Yakov has got Joe Lamondre right behind her, then Ty Scott, Corey Alexander, and that's a fight between about 6 or 7 riders right now trying to get that 6th place.
Bazooka Joe on that Boss Barkarn Racing. That's a YZF R6. So we're looking out front is R9s, and then some riders still choosing to race the R6. Side by side, through the kink, cross start finish line, down into turn number 1.
He had a run, Greg.
He did, but Cam Peterson was so good on the brakes.
Yeah, but when they came past our position here, PJ was almost up alongside Cam, but with the way the kink works, they seem to get a little bit loose. The way the kink works here, if you haven't got that pass committed before you get to the kink, you almost have to just roll out of it, is what PJ had to do. So a timing draft pass when you have a kink in the middle of a straightaway is, you got to be very strategic with how you do it. PJ knows that he can draft Cam, it's just got to happen in the right spot.
So at this point of the race, Skulls just keeps clicking off another half a second per lap. And so Peterson sees his countryman Skulls drifting away on that Strack Racing Yamaha R9. You can see that gap growing. It's 2.5 seconds. And there is Blake Davis. Now for Blake Davis, this last lap, when they came across the stripe, was his first lap that he didn't set his personal best. He did that 3 laps in a row. And what we also know is that in sector number 1, as they're working sector 2 now, Matthew Skulls went his personal best of a 40.2. So this number 1 plate, he just continues to push the issue, and he's just comfortable, just going quicker and quicker with every lap. He doesn't need to. He can sit in manage mode, but he doesn't want to do it. Here he goes. All right, draft and pass now. Side by side, they go through the kink.
You see the kink there, Greg? It just is, he's not quite up alongside enough. He gets a good run. And Greg, if it was a straightaway, he'd be able to do that no problem. But that kink is there. And if he gets close enough, did Cam go wide?
There he goes,
Cam did. Cam ran wide in the middle of turn 1 down there. So That's going to allow PJ through. That's going to be a break for PJ. Now, we'll keep an eye on these splits to see if the 15 can do anything to chip away at that 3-second lead now. 26.3 to 26.8 for these two behind him. So Matthew opened up another half second. 3 seconds, Greg, seems like an awful lot even with 9 laps to go.
Working his Ray Hall Ducati Moto with Expel. Panigale V2 is PJ Jacobs in the yellow bike. We'll see if there was anywhere that Cameron Peterson maybe was holding up PJ. Now, good look on the left part of your screen.
You're going to see Cam's going to, there he is. There's Cam, ran a little bit wide. PJ goes underneath. Live shot down on the bottom right-hand side of our shot here. You're going to see PJ's ran a 10th off. He's only a 10th off of Matthew in the first split. The second split just comes through now, and he's about another 10th off. So he's going to run a lap time that's very similar to the leader now, and you can see he's just trying to ever so slightly get away from Cam. Cam will dig back in, I'm sure, try to keep PJ honest throughout the rest of this race. Blake Davis still back there in fourth, 26.8 to a 27.1. So again, another 3/10. Look at Cam P as he goes down the inside to look. You know, Cam, that's a test run for Cam. That's all that was. It looked a lot closer on camera than it probably was. But Peterson, if he gets close enough, Greg, to draft, he knows he might be able to try to stuff it up underneath PJ down there into that turn 2 area. Yeah, but the problem is for Cameron Peterson too is he's had a couple goes through 1 and 2 where he has run wide, and so he's just got to kind of figure that out on board and make sure that when he does attack, that he doesn't fall victim to that same going wide and allow Peterson to get back by. So 26.8. So for Stoltz right now, he's settled into a 3.4 margin out front. That's what the gap looks like. You can tell by PJ Jacobson's body language that he is trying. He's, you know, you can see him really working the bike. He's sliding down the hill there, like he's giving it a go. But it just doesn't seem like with the splits that we're seeing that all that effort is creating anything that's going to be significant in this battle with 7.5 laps to go. It's really where PJ is comfortable. When the bike's moving around up underneath him, you know, we sit there, and I've really learned to watch this guy ride in the sense that he doesn't mind it being a little bit loose underneath him. Now, if you look at the distance between him and Cam right now, you think it's too much. But what happens is the draft, the way it works, if you can be a little bit further back, you can slingshot. See that move there, Greg? He's able to slingshot up alongside PJ. That's timing your draft perfect. Is he in a little bit too deep? That's the question. He is. And that, again, you gain those extra mile an hour. It gets you into that corner a little bit too deep and makes him run a little bit wide.
So no damage there for Cameron Peterson on the 45 and that Celtic Economy Lube and Tire Warhorse HSBK Ducati. He had second for a moment, but just couldn't get it slowed down. And that extra mile an hour you were talking about, JP, pretty incredible. This battle behind is going on between Yakov, Corey Alexander, Jake Lewis. There's Jake Lewis, number 85 in his Yamaha R9, Altus Motorsports. Cannot tell you how good it is to see Jake Lewis back in action.
Yeah.
He is not 100%. I talked to Jake, and I asked about his shoulder, asked about his ribs, asked about his head, an incident that he had in a different class at Laguna, and he said the only thing really bothering him at this point is the ribs. And it's the constantly moving this motorcycle. Oh, man! Wow, PJ got in there, some lap traffic and almost disaster, but was able to gather it back up. And those two now safely by the traffic, and their battle will resume.
Scary place to catch traffic, and it's scary for the back markers too there. So as you can see, it didn't separate these two, but it definitely is going to make it to where Matthew's lead of 3.9 seconds will probably have grown as it does to 5.4, 26.3 for the number 1 out front, Greg. That's only a 10th off his best. 5.5 seconds now to this battle. So
again, wide off the track.
Poor Cam, he's been wide there a couple times. That grass is going to be wet. That's going to allow Blake through, and now Cam's going to find himself back in 4th place. So we've seen him run wide 3 laps in a row now, Greg, for Cam. So not sure if that's a braking issue or just getting drawn into the draft
earlier,
a little bit, right?
It started early in the race, and Cam just not able to get the thing slowed down into 1.
So when you're in this position that PJ's in right now, you think, okay, I'm going to go for it. Then you kind of go, I can't go for it. Then you realize that the back marker has slowed down more than you had even anticipated, and so that's what you see.
And a good job by the other rider to get out of the way when PJ went right up the inside. Very difficult position for lap traffic, because if they're involved in their own race, and you have the leaders coming through because Skoltz already went through, but a good save from Cameron Peterson. So there is that number 16 we were talking about earlier.
And now he's just got to charge back. He's going to have Blake Davis not that far up the road. You can see there's Blake right there. As he starts breaking down into this turn 12 spot, and you're going to see Camp P's got 6 laps still. Camp Peterson's still right there. He can still go and chase down that rider in front of him.
He could. The question is, where is Cameron Peterson fast? Because he knows he's got limitations into turn number 1. Just a quick note for you Aiden Sneed fans on the MV Augusta. From pit lane, he was able to get his way. He's at 13th place.
Yeah, he would be right in that battle between 6th through 11th. I mean, unfortunately, it's going to be hard for Aiden to go any further forward at 7.1 back, but he'd be right in that battle of that group from 6th to 12th, let's say, because Torrin Collins is just off the back of that big battle himself.
Good job by Cameron Peterson to adjust his brake marker, get on it a little bit early as he tries to sort out on board what's going on in terms of what are the limitations for him into turn number 1. He's got the rest of the track, but how about the performance of this guy?
Yep, can't fault him. I mean, he's just gone.
It's just incredible. Like, yeah, he's backed it down to 27.9, which is fine.
That's traffic, though.
Yeah,
that's going to be back
traffic for him.
For sure.
Still with a 4.2 second lead with 4.5 laps to go for Matthew Skoltz.
I mean, he's already pulled another half second on PJ in that first sector. So you're going to see this guy just jump right back into the 26s. When you get into a rhythm, you don't want to really break that rhythm too much, Greg. And you get to the spot where you start counting down the laps. He's going to come through on his board this time. We saw it up to 5-something seconds. It was 4.2 the last time by. So that tells me that was traffic that actually got probably in Matthew's way. Here's PJ Jacobson still charging. Still trying to make up that time, but look, Greg, half second in the first, half second in the second. He's going to have another full second on PJ just on this lap as he jumps back into the 26.7. Look at PJ using the body English, Greg. That's a combination of body English and throttle modulation as he continues to try to pour the power on out of this Ducati, this Rahal Ducati, to get the bike going the direction he wants, and that's what he's trying to do there.
Yeah, that's just all natural talent for him. He's not even really paying attention to what's going on, but just 1 second the difference between Skoltz and Jacobson on that last lap, and Blake Davis now just a little bit quicker than PJ, just by 1/10 of a second. But to Cameron Peterson's credit, he goes 26.9, so only Skoltz and Peterson, who's back in 4th place, are circulating in the 26s.
It's only 0.3 now, right? So Cam has not given up on that battle. You're going to see him coming into the frame right now. The Ducati of Cam Peterson has reeled in Blake Davis on the 22. And you see how Blake kind of stayed over to the right there? There's only maybe a couple, 2 or 3 really good solid passing spots around here at VIR. Blake's going to know that Cam's up behind him. If he can't hear him, he's probably seen that on his pit board. Watch as he comes through this next right. The next turn that they come into, this tight right, will be a spot where you can pass, and Blake's not going to let that happen there. He's nice and tight on his entry, gets the bike slowed down. Now it's a big run down the straight that they're going to be coming onto that front straightaway here in 2 more turns, and we'll see if the 45 has any power to be able to draft by this number 22.
And to see if he's got a short-term memory for his problems into turn number 1, and if he's got it sorted out. So onto the front straightaway we go for the battle for 3rd between Davis Track Racing Yamaha R9 and Cameron Peterson on the Celtic Economy Lube and Tire Warhorse HSBK Ducati. Down into turn 1 they go, where Cam has been great on the brakes. Not going to happen this time. Jamie?
Keep an eye on the skies as this race starts to wind down, Greg. The clouds have continued to move in, and over the last lap and a half or so, the wind, at least on this part of the racetrack where pit lane is, has really picked up. A couple sprinkles in the air as well, so it could come down to weather at the end.
Yeah, definitely could, but the good news is for this race, Jay, is that we're at that point now where if the skies opened up, the race is going to be complete. So, but if you're aware of that, Jamie brings up a good point. If you're a rider and aware of it, and you've been planning on making a move maybe last lap, now's the time. Whether you're the 22 and the 45, or whether you're one of the riders back in that huge group led by Kayla Yakov in 6th place.
Well, the thing that impressed you and I both at Laguna Seca was the racecraft of Blake Davis here at the front. He did such a really good job of holding those guys off. I remember specifically the last lap of the 2nd race when he had both PJ Jacobson and Matthew Skoltz up behind him. So for Camp P that last time by, he drafted by and went to go to the outside of Blake Davis under braking into turn number 1. Now he's going to have to rethink that plan because Blake Davis is going in. When he goes to that kink rig, he's actually keeping the bike over to the right. to kind of make the efforts of Camp P go down the outside of him. So you can see here, very tight down the front straightaway. Camp P's going to the outside of him again. Now he's got to cross back. See how he's crossing back under? Because he knows he's got to be into that spot to go by Blake Davis. And when you do that, the thing is sometimes if you're in the draft, you got to roll out of it a little bit, which isn't going to allow you to get up alongside of the 22. So Blake Davis doing a nice job. This will be another spot that you can dart down the inside of somebody and even into turn 4. If Cam can come out of here in a good spot like he's trying right now, let's see if he tries to make this pass. Not so quite tight. Close. Yeah, just gets tight in these areas. And you can see when they come through these double rights, they're going to, you see a short shift there. They're now in 3rd. They're going to go up to 4th. Watch Blake keep it over to the right side of the track. So he keeps it over to the right. That just says, hey, I'm not letting you come down the inside of me, and he gets his bike back over to the spot that he needs for turn 7. So right now, it's just a chess match between these two riders.
The other thing, too, is Blake Davis is a leg dangler, and the last thing you want to do behind is make contact with the leg. So
or you aim for it.
Sure. Or you
aim for it, you know?
Yeah,
so,
yeah, I guess.
You know, the thing is, he's, again, very tight into this spot. He's not going to allow anybody to go through. Matthew Schultz now coming onto the front straightaway. 1 lap to go for the Strack Racing rider on the R9, who's done such a tremendous job today, Greg, getting away from everybody. Again, 26.9. He's lived in the 26s the whole race long.
Just in a rhythm. And he did a 1:26.282, which is just 0.08 of a second off the best time ever turned here before PJ Jacobsen set the new track record. So Schultz just in a commanding deal. And here comes Cameron Peterson around the outside. Not going to get it done.
It's going to have to be a surprise spot. If he can stay close enough here and dart down the inside of him in this next left, he's got to try to pull something down. But Blake again, and then we saw last lap through, he's close out of here. Cam might try a spot here if he can.
Got to run up the inside, side by side. Blake's got to lift for a moment. So there goes Cameron Peterson. He takes over 3rd spot from Blake Davis. Well timed, well calculated, but Davis still has half a lap to retaliate.
He does, but now let's see if Cam goes ahead and moves over to the right as well. Look, Blake's going to try to go down the inside anyways.
Full send, that's off the lever. It gets tight there. He pushes Camp P wide. They both go wide. So Davis back in for 3rd spot.
And now the next spot for Camp P is going to go through this left. The bike's going to get very loose out of this right-hander for both riders. We'll probably just get to feel a little bit of wheel spin. But see Blake, nice and tight again as Matthews in the last corner. Look how tight Blake went in there. He's going to control that apex speed on his run down to the finish.
Motivation Super Sport race number 1 here at VIR. And the number 1 plate gets the number 1 spot and will take the win. A great victory for Strack Racing and Matthew Schultz. In 2nd place goes PJ, and now the battle for 3rd onto the straightaway. A good run by Cameron Peterson, now to the kink, side by side, and it's going to be Cameron Peterson who's able to draft by 0.14 of a second over Blake Davis and take the final spot on the podium. But racing still goes on. Ty Scott, the number 70 Vision Wheel M4X Star Suzuki, is able to get around Yakov, the 19, and there's Corey Alexander. So a couple of Rahal Ducatis trying to chase down the Suzuki GSX-R 750, and 6th place will go to Ty Scott with Josh Hayes up the road in 5th place. So it's Scott, Yakov, Alexander, Jake Lewis, Max Van, and Bazooka Joe Lamandry in 11th place.
Here we go from a drone image you're going to see here. That is the difference between Cam Peterson and Blake Davis. What a run to the line for Cam. What a last lap, an entertaining last lap between these two.
Look at their lean angle too, and sometimes that's the thing at the kink. If you can get a little bit more lean angle, it jumps your RPM slightly, and sometimes it gives you a boost. So congratulations to Matthew Schultz celebrating with his fans here at Virginia International Raceway.
That's really good to see, and you know, we always get great crowds here at VIR, and they've come out again, so thanks to all our fans. Look at the consistency in the lap times, Greg. Just 26s all the way through. How about even on lap 15, Greg? Last lap, still in the 26s, with a 26.2 being his best time.
I'll tell you what, for a first-year effort, Yamaha has built an incredible motorcycle in the YZF R9. And the teams that are racing this machine have done an awesome job. Obviously, Strack Racing kind of leading the way. BPR as well, with Josh Hayes finishing in 5th. You have Altus Motorsports doing a great job. Good to see Jake Lewis in the top 10. When we come back, we're going to talk to Matthew Schultz about what an awesome race that was for him and his team. Great performance by Matthew Schultz to take the race win here in the Super Sport class. PJ Jacobson second, so they'll trade places in the championship standings. Matthew Schultz now holding that advantage. But when we look at Cam Peterson in that battle for the final step of the podium, Rog, between himself and Blake Davis, we saw Peterson have his problems, drop down the order a little bit, but recovered well to get back onto the podium.
Yeah, and for Cam, he just never gave up that whole last lap. Every time they were trying to go back and forth, this place can be tough to pass as the race starts to wind down, but Cam Peterson just played it perfectly at that last corner, got a great drive, and set himself up to be in the right spot through the kink.
You need to keep a cool head to do that as well. He was able to do that, and after making the mistakes earlier in the race, it would have been easy just to almost settle for the fourth place and those safe points, but wants to get back onto the podium just like last time out.
And Matt, this is kind of what we've seen all weekend. He's had the pace, just so fast, the consistency inside those 26s. And that's what he did in the race. When the race came, he was able to do exactly what he's been able to do in practice and qualifying.
Yeah, so many laps within a quarter of a second of his fastest lap of the race. So really impressive to see that consistency from him. He's been the pace setter all the way through the weekend. He's had that pressure of knowing that with the number one plate, you're expected to lead the championship, you're expected to win races, and now he's back in that championship lead.
And the pressure also when you're quick all weekend and you know you have the pace to win and you're expected to win, that also adds a little bit more pressure going into the race, but he's able to handle it.
What about for PJ Jacobson as well? Gives up the championship lead, but more than anything, beaten by 5 seconds here by Schultz.
Yeah, but still get the points. That's definitely going to be disappointing with that, losing the lead and getting second. But I think if PJ can get a better start, I bet he feels like he can go with Matt.
Let's get it back to Greg, JP and Jamie to bring us through to a close here in the Super Sport class, where Matthew Schultz picks up the race win and retakes the championship lead. Welcome back to Virginia International Raceway celebration from Strack Racing owner and AI genius. We're going to talk more about that maybe some later, but good race by Matthew Schultz. What a performance. The consistency is something to look at, and really just great run from him. PJ Jacobson now 4.9 seconds back on that number yellow motorcycle. The 19 or the 15. Yeah, I don't want to talk about that. So Schultz with the big victory, 4.9 over PJ Jacobson. 12.6 over Cameron Peterson. What a race. This is what VIR can do. I mean, we've seen it time and time again over the years. That AMA Racing has been here. Hayes in 5th place. Ty Scott in 6th. He was hanging back there, and you can see 35.5, 35.6, 36.0 for Corey. What a run. Great to see Jake Lewis. Injured, but still top 10 for him.